pumped to have on the Catalyst side of our podcast right now a coach who has won 6 national titles. He has worked with players at every different transitional stage of what they're trying to do. He leads them on and off the field. He leads them through their personal walk. He was the 2018 Skip Bertman Coach of the Year, which is the highest honor you can have in college baseball coaching across all levels, named after my coach, which is awesome. And so, Coach Willis, thanks for being here. Weird times, no doubt, but this is when leaders are made, isn't it? Or valued.
Yeah, I'm happy to be with you guys today. Happy to be with you today, Brett. You know, it's just a joy to be able to come on here and talk not baseball stuff, but talk life stuff. So it's a joy of mine to be with you guys today.
Talk to me about, I think it would be naive to not talk about the COVID situation and how you manage that, because, we know that the NCAA ended up giving back eligibility, which impacts players at your level, which also got eligibility back, if I'm not mistaken. But are we going to see, not only you got loss of games that y'all wait all year for. Fall baseball is important, but there's nothing like spring baseball. And all of a sudden the season's gone. We don't know what summer's doing. You've got draft considerations. You've got players looking at where they're going for next year. And now all of a sudden we've got a logjam of players a little bit. Talk to me about all that. That's just, that's the things that's flowing through my head. I can't imagine what's going through your head.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of stuff. And, I know we played Wednesday evening before everything kind of started to get canceled, and you kind of started hearing kind of some rumblings through that. And then even at, Thursday after, we played Wednesday evening, Thursday happens and you start to see all these cancellations, and I'm locked into, I'm also the athletic director. So I'm locked into administrative meetings with cabinet members, and we're talking about different things that are going on. And so I didn't even get out to practice that Thursday. I got out to practice when they were cleaning the field up. And as I was walking out to practice, I looked down at my phone and the College World Series has been canceled. I knew right then, you knew right then, like, this thing's over. It's over at that point in time. And I'm trying to gather my thoughts to talk to our team, because we have a team that's actually en route to come play us that day. To play us the next day on Friday night. And so, you're literally walking down the sidewalk and you look down at your phone and that's been canceled, and all of the rush of emotions of, hey, I've got, 43 young people that I'm getting ready to address. And I don't really know what to say at that point in time, other than just give it to them straight up, the facts of the situation and everything that's at hand. And so, being able to walk out there, get in front of them, tell them these are the scenarios and situations that are happening right now. The NCAA has made their decisions on what they're going to do, but the NJCAA had not at that point in time. They had basically just had a wait and see approach. They didn't want to jump to anything right there, but they were analyzing and making sure everything, analyzing all the situations at hand. And so, talk to them, tell them the information, tell them that we are still on task to play tomorrow evening. The team was en route, and then by that evening, you start to, I get home and I start to look at all the different news reports and everything. And so, I called our chancellor. I actually went over to her home and we sat down and we spoke about the scenario at hand. And I said, this team that we're playing is about halfway here right now. And we need to probably make a decision. And, my recommendation along with hers as well is let's suspend this thing out to March 30th, which that would have been the original idea that a lot of Division I conferences had done at that point in time. Let's just suspend the season to March 30th, and then kind of see where everything is at that point in time. So we did that, and so we had a meeting with our players immediately at that point in time and said, hey, we're not playing this weekend. Let's kind of disperse a little bit. And now we're suspended to March 30th. I recommended to them, hey, you guys go home right now. We're not going to practice. We're not going to meet. We're not going to do anything right now. Let's get away from one another, and see what happens at that point in time. And then you just kind of saw all the things that started happening. And then finally the NJCAA came out and said, hey, it's April 3rd. And then they backed that up even further. And then, sooner or later it's all canceled. And I think the biggest trying thing in the whole thing was the last time I saw those guys face to face, I talked to them about things. March 30th was going to be our date. We were going to be able to come back on March 30th, hopefully, and then start back playing on April 3rd. And that was the last face-to-face meeting I had with those guys. And we did our team prayer in our dugout. And that was the last moment I met with all of those guys, and now they're dispersed everywhere. And so the impact of things coming to an end right there, there's no playbook, there's no recipe, there's nothing that says these are all the things that you're going to have to do. And we have young people that are hurting right now. I'm not talking about just athletes. I'm talking about young people, whether they're confident, whether they have a work ethic, all these things, they're thrown into this mix of how do we deal with things right now? And so, we've tried to put a lot of things in play with our student athletes and a lot of checking up on them and a lot of things. I think there's a lot of people that are sitting on the sideline right now, like, I don't know what to do. I would say do something, do something, and if it's wrong, you're going to, don't play armchair quarterback, but do something. You have all of this time on your hand as a coach right now where when your student athletes were on campus, you were meeting with them, you were practicing, you were playing games, you had all of this time to spend with them. Well, now if you can't be with them on the field, in the classroom, spend your time with them, spend your time somehow with them. And I think I don't know if it's a disturbing thing that I've seen right now is one, I'm seeing coaches they're bettering themselves. They're getting on things, they're listening to podcasts, they're doing all this kind of stuff. My only concern with that is, are you spending more time on your professional development and what you're doing right now for yourself, which in turn will affect your teams down the road and what you're doing right now? But are you spending more time with your players and developing the strategies to help them cope through all of this? Or are you spending time learning about your sport, about your game? And I think that's a disturbing, and I just want to make sure people are out there spending the time on the young people, because that's why we signed up for this gig. That's why we signed up for it. This is what we're in for.
But I think one of the things that is, I see a lot, they don't, and I'm not, if a coach is listening to this, I'm not calling you out personally, but they don't know what to do. They don't know. I hear that a lot. What am I supposed to say to my guys, my girls right now? What am I supposed to say to my team? I don't know. And I always tell them that we don't know. So there's the concern, am I overreaching? Am I stepping in too much? And there's so much apprehension, different schools have put in, I don't say embargoes for a little while. Don't reach out to your kids right now. And I'm like, we just took kids that have a family and a community at their school and said, go home. We can touch base with them a little bit, but we can't do anything else. I'm like, this is the time for us to really be engaged with them so that they're not losing their momentum, their motivation, their purpose right now. And we're not losing them to the easy way.
Yeah. Well, no, you're dead on, and if schools are doing that and putting those embargoes, I mean, I don't understand that. I don't get that. That's not a part of
well, I guess my point on that was, the NCAA at first said you can only do so many hours. You can't. Thinking, why are we restricting what they do at home right now?
Yeah.
This is the time they need more structure than anything else.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, those are things that we put in. I mean, we're having Zoom meetings with our team. I had a Zoom meeting with our team captains last night, and in that Zoom meeting with my team captains, my first question to them was, what can I do? What can I do? And I thought it was intriguing to listen to them of what they think I can do to help them. And I think one of the things that came out of that was, I've got 5 team captains. These are very, very self-motivated individuals. These are very driven individuals, character, work ethic, all the intangibles that you have, they're off the charts with these 5 individuals. And they said, Coach, we need motivation. Like we need motivation, and we need to hear from you as much as possible. And I said, that was intriguing to me. And so, I've done that. I've sent them videos. I've sent them, in our team group me message, every day to try to give something. We send them a daily workout, home workout daily. They get it in the morning. I have one of my coaches that puts that together. And originally I thought about, and he thought about maybe doing it over a 2-week, 3-week time period. Well, I stepped back and said, no. They should get that each morning. When they wake up, that's waiting on their phone. This is your workout to do this day, and it's burpees, it's push-ups, it's a time frame, and they can all do it at home, but it just gives them something to wake up to. I gave them my whole home structure at home that my family and I are going through of get up early, early, get ready, take a shower, shave, brush your teeth, just like you would do any other day. I gave them my workout routine. I gave them, this is what I have a 30-minute social media time that I'm spending in our family. So my two daughters, 13 and 9 years old, are not trapped in that dilemma right now. Getting outside, exercising, all the things, just the structure that I think is important right now for anybody to continue to do. I wanted to show them what my family was doing, and they were very, very interested in that. And last night I brought my two daughters onto the Zoom meeting. They lit up. They lit up because they get to see two girls that are in our dugout that are running around during game days and things of that nature. And I just think it's important for us to kind of continue to do those things. Hey, one other thing we did, we set up academic teams. I said, hey, our competition on the field is out right now, but what can we do to continue to strive for them to reach excellence? And so what I did is, we've got 5 team captains, and I split those team members up into 5 different teams. That team captain of that group has to talk, not text, has to talk on the phone with each member of his academic team, and has to get an academic update on every single class that individual is in. Or, because all of us have gone to remote learning, all onto online learning, put all of that in motion for them to communicate with. And also, like I said, not just about academics, talk about life. Like, talk to your teammates with this, because they're stuck in this text message emoji type of world right now. And so if we can talk to one another and communicate that way over the phone, or over FaceTime with everything. And that was intriguing last week when I had my check-in with the team captains and give me the update on your team members, and listening to them go down the list of all of the things that their team members are doing right now. I mean, they were telling me one of them was struggling in math. So that captain hooked him up with another teammate who had that math class, had that professor the semester before, and they were able to, they're in a buddy system, because that was the other thing I wanted them to do, is within your academic team, I need each person to have a buddy. So in a buddy system there, that's your academic buddy right now to hold you accountable each and every day. Set time aside to do your academic studies. But just setting all those things in that with daily motivation, a workout, academic progress, all the things that we can, and then making sure that they have all the online resources for tutoring and things of that nature as well.
You brought up a really important thing, and as you said, it kind of shocked you, which is motivation, right? I know a lot of guys athletes, when they went back and they had this time, I'm going to get on this. Mm-hmm. What happened was it became a New Year's resolution. Just kind of get into Netflix. You just, Tiger Kings is out. Man, what a crazy show. Next thing you know, you've watched 6 of those episodes, and then it's like, I'll do the exercise tomorrow. And I'm hearing from coaches, I'm hearing from players that motivation is really hard right now, because I don't know what I'm competing for or when I'm going to compete again. Yeah. So, pitchers, like, what am I going in the bullpen for right now? Like, I don't know what I'm throwing for. My professional golfers, I mean, they just found out yesterday as we record this, some possible dates. They're at least 8 weeks out from anything. Yeah. And so a lot of them are just like, I don't know what to do. They've never had this amount of time off, that they're not hustling for something. And it's interesting because I think it shocked a lot of people to say, why am I not motivated? I've been begging for time off forever. I finally have it. And I feel like I'm in this hole.
Yeah, I think this is a great reminder as well. I talked to our team captains, last night, and then my team Zoom meeting tomorrow is really going to be able to hit on, in the fall, we always go over what is your identity, what is your identity and what is your identity tied to? And I always go through that whole list of things and ramifications of identities, and a lot of things that people tie them to. I think a lot of people in a job setting, they tie their identity to their job. Yeah. A lot of people would say, hey, my identity as Jeff Willis is a baseball coach. Well, no, it's not. That's my job, but that's not my identity. And I think it's a challenge for all of us to find out what our identity is and to put it into something that cannot be taken away at a moment's notice. And I think this is a perfect time to be able to remind young people or old people, all of us right now, to make sure that our identity, I'm a baseball coach right now, but my job title doesn't matter. How I do my job actually matters. That's a part of my identity of how I do my job. And I think a big piece of this, not to get churchy, any of that type of right now, But I think it is a big time to talk about what is your identity tied to being a child of God or not?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a reminder to a lot of people out there as well right now of what is your identity truly tied to, and young people that their identity was tied to their sport, whether it be baseball, football, basketball, golf, any of those types of things. Those are the ones that are struggling the most right now. And those are the ones that need to be reminded about what really is your identity tied to. And we talk a lot in our program about your identity and what is it tied to. And if it's taken away even a father, my identity right now is not tied to being a father. A lot of people would say, yeah, your identity is tied to being a father. No. But God forbid, my family could be taken away from me in a car accident or any of those things. God forbid anything like that ever happening. But that's not my identity. My identity is tied to something that can never, ever be taken away from me when you make that choice. And I think that's key for all of us to be able to do and find out. And I think a lot of times when I'm the baseball coach on the field, I don't talk a lot about the game of baseball. The X's and O's of baseball. We're equipping young people for life. We're equipping young people to be husbands and fathers and mothers and wives and raise great young people that can go and make a difference in their families and really change the course of who we are. And that's another piece of this. How many times in the history of mankind have we have a chance to push reset and get back to our basics and get back to what's truly important with everything that's at hand? And I think we're at that moment right now that you can really truly see people start to pull with some synergy and pull in the right direction and all pull together for our team. And our team right now is our human race. That is
humanity.
That's humanity. It's not an American. It's not it's as a human being right now. And so there's a lot of great things and silver linings that are going to come out of this, and that I think we're going to be amazed by when it's all said and done.
I thought it was interesting, symbology wise, why this happens in the year 2020. Of the greatest analogy that we use for hindsight is 2020, and somebody's great vision is 2020. Because I've looked at this and said, what does this force us to do? It's forced us to look back at our source again. What feeds us? To your point, your identity, right?
Yep.
I don't care. We're seeing healers, in the medical community. I don't want to say rewarded, but maybe recognized that we've lost for a little bit. We've seen parents reconnect to what teachers actually do because now they're having to do it. There's a funny video with a guy online. He's like, Mrs. Robinson, I want to apologize for what I was saying about you in October. You're the greatest ever. We're having to reconnect to what makes us happy because, it's not a Netflix show. It's a nice, it's a nice distraction. But if you can't have a conversation with your spouse right now, you're losing your source. If you don't know who's inside you, with the greatest uncertainty we've ever had. We don't know when sports are coming back. Let's think about that. Even in World War II, we knew once this is over, but sport, we don't know what's the new normal. That's, to me, I hit me. I was sitting at my desk one morning and I was like, man, why is it 2020? That's really when we have to look at ourselves. And I think you're so right about, as coaches, there's been no more powerful of a time that I've seen players connect with coaches. Like I asked all my coaches, I did a webinar when this first started, and there was a bunch of coaches on, and I said, I want you guys to all write handwritten letters to all your players. And the number of DMs I got about, one that always struck with me was a lady who was a college coach, and she said, I sobbed and I wrote letters to my players. Like, why didn't I connect to that emotionality before? And she said, my brother is a college football coach and he did it. He sobbed because it's the first time we've and I always say a handwritten letter because it just has a little bit more of a personal connection to it. And, when we start looking at it, everybody's a teacher in our life and we're always on the learning path to gain wisdom. And this is the greatest time ever.
Yeah. Without a doubt. And I think all of us, and when I'm speaking to myself, right now you're speaking to yourself as well. And anytime 100%. That I ever write something or I talk to our team or I talk in front of a group, I'm always talking to myself and reminding myself because, it's another reminder for all of our coaches out here that when I'm dead and gone, or any other coach is dead and gone, and they go to meet their maker, they're not going to ask how many wins did you have. He's not going to ask how many championships did you win. He is going to ask, I sent you all these young people, what'd you do with them?
Yeah.
Did you make them into quality individuals? Did you pat them on the back when they needed it? Did you kick them in the rear when they needed it? Did you do all the things? Did you truly care, not about your sport and not about the game and not about the wins and losses and the X's and O's, but did you truly care about the individual and making them into be the best version of themselves? And I think this is just a reminder, and it's a chance for all coaches to get to that level of care with their individuals if they haven't been doing that right now. So there's another 2020 or a silver lining in all of this as well, that there's going to be some dynamic instances, situations, down the road from here right now that we're going to look back on and say, man, that was a moment in time, moment in history that changed the complete world for the better. Not for the worse, but for the better.
Yeah, I agree with that. It reminds me, Skip used to always tell a story about a speaker, and it's in one of his books or whatever, but about a speaker who was a POW that was shot down and he parachuted out. Are you familiar with that story?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right. So to our listeners, essentially what it was, the guy was speaking about his harrowed time of being in the Hanoi Hilton. And then after a talk, this man walked up to him and said, I always worried about you because I packed your parachute that day. And here's this guy who's a hero, and it just reflects back to how many times I walk by him on the ship and ignore him because he wasn't a pilot. He wasn't one of the macho guys. And here's a guy who saved my life and put that much care and interest. And it reminds me of the Ed Reed talk about, hey man, pick up your stuff in the locker room because we have volunteer firemen that are cleaning our locker. And I've always told my athletes, college athletes, when you're in a hotel, pick up your towels and put them on the counter. Don't leave them all over the place, because the person who guarantees the quality of your stay is the person you overlook every day.
Yeah.
Talk to the maids, talk to the house cleaning staff, because the manager may put out the culture, but if the person doesn't buy into that culture, you're going to have hair in your shower from the previous guest.
Yeah. What you're talking about, and it's just a reminder, the funniest, the hotel maid, what's funny is we tell those guys the same thing. Pick up your towels, put them in a pile.
Yep.
So they can make it the easiest possible scenario for that cleaning lady. And that's when you have a selfless servant type of heart, when you're caring and worrying about that maid, the hotel cleaning staff at that point in time. But also during this time, I think it's a reflection of all of us right now to realize that sports, baseball, football, all of this kind of that it's not that important.
Oh.
It seems to be really important to all of us right now, but in the big scheme of things right now, we of being able to watch the people on the front lines, the medical staffs, whether the nurses, the doctors, that are risking their lives by going into work and not having the PPE or whatever the acronym is for it. They don't have that, and they're putting their lives on the line and risking that to help. I don't know of a better picture of sacrifice or humility there is out there right now than who is on the front lines of our doctors and our nurses right now. It's unbelievable.
It is. What do you think your first message back to when you have your guys back on campus? What's that? What are those emotions going to be?
Well, I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of I think for one, you're going to have a lot of talks. You're going to have to talk through a lot. There's going to be a lot of counseling that'll take place with them and everything.
And for our listeners to understand too, is the thing you got to understand is where coach coaches is in the hotbed. It's one of the hotbed areas of COVID, which is in Louisiana. Now, while New Orleans has the biggest hotbed, New Orleans is the lifeblood of that state. And it's, my own state, your state, but it's really, there are people that are affected at many different levels. So there you go.
Yeah. I think the first thing, I'm going to hug them. I'm going to hug them, and there'll probably be some tears that'll be shed at that point in time, just because you miss them. They're your family. They're literally your family that's sitting on that field, that not all the cliches, blood, sweat, and tears, but you have cried with them. You've stood in front of them vulnerable. You've had them in your office and been face to face and not sat across the desk from them, but from time to time you've walked across and sat next to them to talk with them, not as a coach-player type of relationship, but as a man-to-man type of relationship. And so it's your family's gone. Like just meeting, we'll see you in a week or two, and it's gone. And so it's almost like a death.
Yeah.
You know, in a grieving type of scenario that individuals are going through right now. And so we know that they haven't passed away, and we know it's on the horizon and the sun's going to come up, but I'm telling you, there'll be some big hugs and there'll be some high fives.
But you had no idea. Here it is, April 7th as we record this. I mean, I think we all thought, oh, by April 10th, we'll be back. I mean, here we are, April 7th, and we're still thinking, when? I mean, Major League Baseball still has not put a line in the sand about when they're going to play.
No. And I had a question from one of our team captains last night of, do you think we'll play summer ball? I said, I don't. Let's just be as real as I possibly can. And I don't want to sugarcoat it. And, I hope you do. But we have to be real right now. I don't think there's any way with that. Let's hope everything is died down by August 1st. And college football can start, and NFL football can start, and all of those things that are revolved around that. And basically, we start the academic year out, and here we go. We're good to go at that point.
Start fresh. Just start college. Yeah, start fresh.
Yeah, like the year didn't happen. The year didn't happen, and let's start fresh and quantum leap into the next year.
How do you handle? Because I think one of the things that was fascinating, you and I were talking about before we started this, was dealing with players always in transition, and players are always in transition, but being a coach at a junior college level where players are wanting to leave you as soon as they can, nothing personal with you, but you're helping build them to be ready for that next opportunity. So you don't want them there for life, but how do you deal with that? Because there's got to be some challenges and also some opportunities.
Well, I think one, it's very rewarding to see young people that are really truly motivated to get to the next level. And when I coached at a 4-year institution, there was times where we had a senior, 5th-year senior, not all of them, but there were a few of them that they had checked out at some point in time, meaning that, you would think that individual, they're in their last year of their collegiate career, last time playing any type of competitive athletics on a collegiate field, that they're going to go out there and leave it all on the field. But it's human nature from time. It's human nature to look forward. Not to live in the present, not to be where your feet are, but it is human nature to always look forward. So a lot of times you've got that 22, 23-year-old, 5th-year senior that all of a sudden they've got a job lined up. They may have a girlfriend, a fiance, possibly getting married, and they're looking forward to that. And they're really not being where their feet are and being grounded where they are and living in the everyday and living in the present at that point in time. Whereas at the level I'm at of junior college, all of those kids are extremely motivated to get to the next level, because whether it's Division I baseball or it's professional baseball, they still have opportunities, and that job is not even in their vocabulary right now, or of getting married, having a family is not even really in their vocabulary at that point in time. So that's extremely motivating for myself as a coach to see someone that shows up that's trying to get to the next level, really, truly trying to get to the next level, all of them, 100% of them at that point in time. The one thing that's challenging from time to time is at the level of junior college is when you have a freshman, that freshman's trying to get to know you, and you're trying to get to know that freshman. And so they're trying to figure you out, you're trying to figure them out, and that relationship does not really truly blossom until really their sophomore year. That fall, it starts to get pretty decent at that point in time, but then that spring of their sophomore season, it gets really good. And now you're extremely close, and now you're really tight at that point in time. And then as a coach, the worst part of my job is they're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone. They're gone, and they're moving on to the next level and the next road on their map right now. And so that's the toughest time, and it's very similar to this right now, but it's planned. You know that's going to happen, and you know that date's coming. But right now, with everything, it's just a scenario where there's some silver linings in that relationship and the motivation behind it, but then it ends very, very quickly, per se, that you're around them every day.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike a 4-year school where you've got a guy 4 or 5 years with that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. How do you develop that relationship so quickly? Because I know talking to 4-year coaches, and I know it was for me, it takes a little bit to, maybe, you have older players. And like my freshman year at LSU, we had an older team. So freshmen were not, I mean, we were fine, but there was a hierarchy.
Yeah.
And then you saw the growth and the development of players, but sophomores aren't supposed to be leaders. Okay. Even Todd Walker wasn't a leader as a sophomore. We had older guys. We kept him. Eddie Furness as a sophomore wasn't a leader. There were older guys. But for you, big time. You're having to develop them fast, right?
Well, you're developing leaders. That's what you want to do. And I think the hierarchy when you were at LSU and the age factor and all that didn't allow those guys that were sophomores to be leaders. When some of them would have been possibly better leaders than those seniors.
Yeah, probably. Probably. Not knocking you guys, but probably.
Yeah, so you've got that, and we want to spend as much time with them. We go in the classroom. Like we go into the classroom for the month of November, and we usually read some type of motivational book of really sports psychology in that, because in that, as myself as a head coach, I want to share real life experiences that may not be based on a sport, but things that have happened personally in my life. Some of that gets real, like really, really intimate conversations about struggles and pains and how you overcame something or things you're still struggling with. And when as a coach, when you're vulnerable and they see that side of you, that they know that you truly, really care about them, not as a baseball player, but as a person, that's how you develop chemistry. That's how you develop close relationships. I look at our players that have been here that went on to play in the Southeastern Conference, that were All-Americans, NCAA Division I All-Americans, all of these different awards, played all this professional baseball. And I look at them right now, and I look at when they get married and who's in their wedding party. And it's most of the time the teammates from when they were here, not necessarily, they'll have some teammates from that 4-year school, but most of their wedding parties, their best man, that wedding party is their teammates from here. That's rewarding when you start to see that. But I think a lot of it has to do with what you talked about when you were a freshman at LSU. That 5th-year senior didn't have much to do with you.
No.
You were on a different wavelength at that point in time. You're going into college. You're 23 years old. Y'all don't have a lot of common other than you're on this team together. Yeah. Whereas the players that I have, they're all roughly the same age. They live with one another. Their neighbors are one another. And so they develop this bond and chemistry that is unbreakable 10, 15, 20 years down the road is what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's a great point, because even when I was a 5th-year senior, I remember looking back at it as our freshman and thinking, man, they're young. I mean, they were young and they were great, but they were young. And you forget that, there is such an age discrepancy. I often tell that to my football players, who come in as freshmen and they look across the line at a 23-year-old who's NFL ready. And they're like, how do I not? And I'm like, because they're a man at this point. You look like a man, but you're not a man. That's a dude. That is a dude that's figured it out. He knows how to take care of his body. He knows what he's doing there. What about coaches that are looking, I look at the coaching profession right now, and we just had a high school coach, Bucky McMillan in basketball, who just got the Stanford basketball job, and a pretty fast rise. Now, Bucky is one of the fastest growing. He's going to do a great job at Stanford, and this will probably be the first stop. And I know they don't want me to say that, but Bucky's on the fast track. He's done very well, and he's in his 30s and what have you. There's so much competition for coaches to get in the field now, and so much of a growth curve. It's not the old days where it was, you may go to a place and stick it out for a little while, and then now everybody's on the elevator. You know what I mean? It's no more, hey, I'm going to get a job at, my high school. I'm going to dominate there because I love it. It's our generation now is like, I want to go here to here to here to here, and I want to be coaching at, an SEC school by the time I'm 35.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck for that. I think Mike Bianco maybe might be the only one.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, I think, I challenge coaches all the time. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, and you've heard that analogy.
Yeah.
Wherever you're at, water the grass, fertilize the grass where you're at, and be where your feet are. I tell our players, but I also remind myself as well, enjoy the smallest of moments. Okay, enjoy the relationships that you build. We live in a generation that is, and in the greatest country in the world, that we are motivated for the next thing. We are motivated to get to the next step and reach the next goal. I personally, I don't like to set goals. I don't. I don't. I want my mission. Like I think when you set goals, a lot of times you actually hamstring yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
Into not reaching further ahead than what your goals are at that point in time. So mission related, not goal related, mission related. But as a coach or as a player, quit looking forward. Okay, you got to prepare for that. You got to work hard. You got to do all those types of things. But be, like we talked about earlier, just be where your feet are. And I think a big reminder of this, and that takes away from worry and anxiety as well, because we're dealing with generations right now of young people that their worry and anxiety is off the charts right now. It's off the charts. Well, why is that? I think a lot of it has to do with how driven how driven we are as an American, to get this and try to reach all these types of things. So I think that's a part of it. But if we are able to slow down and enjoy the smallest of moments, be mission related, okay, not goal driven, but mission related, and your goals can play into that mission, and be where your feet are. Then if that is to come to pass, it will come to pass. Okay, if it's meant to be at that point in time. But people that are looking forward to the next job, the next place where they're going to be at, they miss all of that time they could have spent building the smallest of moments with their players and the relationships around them.
So true. I mean, I was thinking about college, right? And I was actually thinking about grad school last night, because something came up about grad school. And we were talking, and I said, that was a long 5 years in internship, but I was in such a hurry to get done with it that what was I in a hurry for? Real world. Wow, this is great. The real world. I mean, we're in such a hurry to get to the next destination. We're in such a hurry to experience a vacation that sometimes we forget. And one of the things I've been challenging people to do during this time is to learn to take 15 minutes alone by yourself. Mm-hmm. You're not scary. So, maybe if we learn to sit and just be present. I got up in the office this morning around 6:45, and I didn't have my first appointment at 8:30. And I sat, and it was quiet. There's nobody else up here. And it was so peaceful, because it was like this unbelievable motivational springboard for me of just like, I mean, my life's not chaos right now. Not like it was a month and a half ago, but it's just nice. And I'm like, there's no reason why this can't happen all the time. Now, of course, I came up here instead of exercising, but that's a whole nother thing. I see the Peloton, but I'd probably wake up everybody in my house. And so it's just easier for me to come up here.
No, but you are right. Just being still.
Just being still.
Being still. Just being still. What you're talking about in grad school and kind of looking, and those years got to be a blur almost.
Oh my God, unbelievable.
And so I tell our players, and I have to remind myself all the time, quit looking forward to the weekend. Quit looking forward to the next day. Quit looking for the vacation, all the things you talked about. You might get hit by a bus. And you were looking forward, and you were worrying about all these things that may not even happen because you might get hit by a bus. My God forbid that would take place. But just be in the here and now.
Yeah. It to your point of how fast it goes, this is a strong point, but, when my dad was sick, and before he was sick, I'd get a phone call or something. I'd be at my desk. I'd be bouncing. He'd probably pocket dial me. I'd be like, oh, whatever, I'll get to it later. And after he passed away, I was like, idiot.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be there for life. He's not. God, if I could just say, Dad, hang up the phone. You got me on. I can hear you washing your hands, hang up. But at least to have that moment of saying, God, I could, And I think players, I look at games that I pitched my senior year where I was so caught up in trying to increase, draft ideas. I mean, come on, I should have been smarter than that and said, look, I lost that when I got injured, but enjoy the moment you're pitching in. Mm-hmm. If you got to spin it, but at least you're winning, and don't be in a hurry to get through those road trips. Those are the special times. You don't get those back. I don't get to go on road trips anymore like that.
It's like when you're with your boys and you go to the lake. It's in the pickup truck with the boat trailer on there, and the time getting there, not necessarily when you're actually on that lake. Yeah. It's slowing down and enjoying the smallest of moments, which I'm guilty of, missing all those small moments, just like we all are. And we all need that reminder, slow down from time to time.
Coach, I want to end it on that because I think that is a poignant spot to leave it. You've done amazing work. You've made a huge impact on Brett Basham in our office, and he's listening to this, and he's probably going to edit it out, but he shouldn't. But I know he speaks so highly of you. He probably didn't pick up his cups and stuff like that there either. He'll probably edit that out too, but he shouldn't. Brett's such a valuable contributor to our organization, and I tell him all the time, you're the ultimate teammate to have, because he will do whatever he takes. He will figure it out. He is all in, and he's loyal to the day is long, but he cares. And I think that comes from his family, his experience with B, and his experience with you. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that about Brett. That was one of my shining coaching staffs that I had, and he was a huge piece of that puzzle that year that he is with us. And I wish I was in the office with you around him every day, because he is somebody that pushes you to be better than what you are, and challenges you to be better than you were the day before.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And you want to be surrounded by individuals that challenge you to make you better, that keep you on edge, that just I can't say enough about him. And I know Brett's probably listening right now. He's not to cut this thing out.
He's not allowed to. I will be ticked. We will hunt you down, because people need to understand, there are team members, and then there's committed team members. And I've had a lot of team members. He's the first committed team member I've had.
Yeah. And we need to do, and that's a reminder, we need to make sure we always praise the people that sometimes that are behind us or perceived to be behind us, because they're not really ever behind us. They're usually shoulder to shoulder with us. Whether it's our assistant coaches, my assistant coaching staff's unreal. And they're in the trenches and the ditches every single day. And they've made me who I am today, and have made our team who it is today as well. And Brett was a part of that. And we still talk about him and the impact that he made in that year he was with us. And we just, hopefully, why don't you let him go and I'll pick him back up.
No, thank you. And what I mean is, if one of my former teammates is on there, so I thought I was committed. What I mean is, I'll do a talk and I'll walk off the stage and we'll get in the car, and Brett goes, "Do you want the feedback now or later?" And I'm like, I'm still coming down from the energy, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "That wasn't one of your best." And I'm like, okay, but he's right.
Yeah.
What he's saying is, we could do this, this, and this. Okay. I love that. And, and I think don't be afraid to share feedback if you're in that setting. And when I talk about being committed, he's committed to what he's saying. He's not trying to survive every day. He's not showing up he's committed to the mission, and he is going to go down with the ship, or he's going to make the ship, sail. And I thank you for that. So Brett, Brett, you're fired if you edit this. There you go.
There you go. And I'll pick you up.
No. And I'm going to say he's blackballed from working for you. So I don't want to lose Brett. So, Coach, thank you for this. Listen, stay safe, stay engaged.
My pleasure.
You got it.
Thanks a lot.
This is great. Thank you so much.
All right.